What's up, guys? So I'm back on my bed and I have my fake glasses on. So you know what that means. It is time for episode number 2 of my book recommendations. I am freaking obsessed with reading, so when I saw that a lot of people liked my first one, I was like, well, I'm so down to make another one because I've got a whole list of new books to share with you guys. So yeah, I'm really excited and let's just jump right into it. Again, I'm gonna split this video up into fiction, self-help, and memoirs. So you can skip around if you don't want to hear the fiction, just jump to wherever you want to go. All right. First up, we've got The Wedding Date. This book I read in like a span of 3 days because it was so freaking juicy. It is another one of those cute love stories, but it has like a little twist and it's just so captivating. Like once you start reading this, you will be thinking about this book like throughout your entire day until you can read it again. So yeah, highly recommend if you're looking for a fiction, really fun love story. Then another one we have is It Ends With Us. This book, I did not expect how this was gonna end. I didn't like the whole plot of the book was really surprising for me because I thought it was gonna be just your average, you know, like romantic fiction novel, cute romance. It is a whole new territory of relationships that it goes into. It's really interesting and another really juicy one that'll keep you on the edge of your seat until you finish it. So highly recommend that one. And then, oh, this is like a classic book. If you haven't read Call Me By Your Name, I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I finished this book and I was like, are you freaking kidding me? But I'm not gonna spoil anything. I still think you should read it though. I still think you should give it a try because it's, I mean, you can watch the movie unless, okay, honestly, if you've watched the movie, I still think that you should read the book because like everyone says, books are always better than movies. It's a fact. Don't care what you say, it's a fact. You can just get more invested in books than you can get into movies. You get to know the characters better. So that's why I think that you should read Call Me By Your Name as the book instead of just the movie. And we all know Timothée Chalamet. If you like picturing him just as the main character, it's like, yes. Okay. And then the last one for fiction that I'm gonna mention is The Hayden Game. This one kinda is like The Wedding Date, but not like storyline wise, just like the feeling that you get when you read it, where you're like, wow, like I'm invested in these people, these fake people. But again, really juicy plot. It's about, you know, these people that work together and they hate each other, but then, you know, obviously a little something happens. And I just think that it's one of those, like it's not too long. You can easily read it in literally the span of maybe 2 days, I wanna say. So again, I really recommend that one. I think all of my fiction ones have been romance novels. So sorry about that. But also what I'm reading right now, if you're wondering, is Eleanor Oliphant. I don't even know, how the f do you say that? Is Completely Fine, this book right here. This is what I'm reading right now. I'm not gonna like blindly recommend it to you guys because I haven't finished it yet, but I heard really great things about this book, so stay tuned to see if I recommend it. Okay, now let's move on to the self-help section, which is one of my faves. When I was recreating this list, I was like, I can't believe I didn't mention some of these books in the first time around, but if I did, the video literally would have been like 30 minutes long. So anyway, first up we've got, I have most of the books this time, which is really exciting. So first up for the self-help section, we've got Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. And if you haven't seen her TikTok, her TED Talk, sorry, my brain is fried. You should definitely check it out. I forget what it's called, but it's about the subject of vulnerability. So this book is how the courage to be vulnerable transforms the way we live, love, parent, and lead. I highly recommend. I have highlighted like all up in this book just because she mentioned some really important lessons and, you know, all about just like vulnerability, and that stuff is hard for me. I feel like it's hard for a mass majority of us. So yeah, even if you don't struggle with it, I highly recommend this just because she is an amazing storyteller, and just the way she writes, you feel like you're just talking to a friend and that she's kind of guiding you through like life lessons almost. So I highly recommend this book. Oh, and then this book I read back in November, and this one's called Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Laurie Gottlieb. I don't know if I said that right. Looks like this. I read this on my Kindle, but this is my sister's copy, and I did not realize how thick this book was. But this book is so interesting. So basically she's a therapist and she writes about different patients' stories, but then kind of intertwines them all to teach like valuable lessons, you know, just like on how we should treat people, you know. Yeah, I felt like it was a really powerful book, and it kind of gives you an insight onto the whole world of therapy and just kind of like what therapy can do for you. You kind of see yourself in the people that she talks about, because I think what she said in the beginning of the book is that she kind of took a lot of different patients and morphed their stories almost. But don't be scared by how long it is. It goes by really quick just because the stories are so interesting, and she like rotates, so it's not boring. All right, next up we've got a more fun, lighter book that's not all about, well, it kind of is about like life lessons, but in a fun way, because this one's called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and she is actually the woman who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. I feel like everyone's read that. I haven't actually read it, I'm not gonna lie. But this book is about creative living beyond fear. And this one was really interesting because it wasn't necessarily geared towards just creative people. It's kind of how like everyone, no matter what field you're in, can live a creative life, and just to like how to incorporate that and just kind of push out people's opinions and, you know, live your own life in your own light, I feel like. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. She is another one of those really interesting writers and knows how to grab your attention. So that one, highly recommend. Oh, okay. Oh, these last two are just like, if you haven't read these books, I highly recommend reading these books. First one is Tuesdays with Morrie. Maurey? Yeah, Morrie. So Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. Again, I butcher last names, I'm sorry. This book, if you haven't read this book, even my friend Cassie, I told her I was reading this book like 3 years ago maybe. That's how long ago I read this book. And she was like, that is one of those books that everyone should read just because it's like jam-packed with just wisdom and knowledge that you need, and like it's just comforting. You know, it's like one of those comforting sort of books, not like because sometimes I feel like self-helpy books can kind of be like, they're screaming at me. But that one's more of like you take it in and you kind of like evaluate it in your own life. And yeah, I love that book. I wish I still had it because I highlighted so many sections in that book, but I can't find it anywhere. Okay, last one I'm gonna talk about is The Last Lecture. And actually, one of my friends when I was in 7th grade recommended this book to me. And I didn't end up reading it until last year, just cause like I saw it on Amazon and I was like, wait a second, I haven't even read that book yet. And if you don't know the backstory about The Last Lecture, it's essentially this professor at Carnegie Mellon in Pittsburgh was diagnosed with cancer, and this is his last lecture. It's online as well, like you can watch it. But reading it, you kind of get like the inside scoop on like, you know, why he mentions the lessons that he does. And it's just really touching. Like, it's a touching book, and it's not long at all. It's only like 200 something pages, but I'd say it's definitely worth the read just because he has a lot of good, really good words of wisdom, I'd say. All right, so next up we've got Memoirs. This time around I only have 3 to tell you guys about. And first one is Educated, and I'm sure most of you have already heard about Educated because it is so popular. I feel like it blew up like within this last year, and it's really interesting. Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I thought it was a little dry, but I think that the message behind the book is really important. So that's why I'm recommending it to you guys. But as you can probably tell from my book recommendations, I like my books a little juicy, you know? Not saying that her story isn't juicy, like it's really interesting and that's why I'm recommending it, but I'm just saying that it takes a little bit to get into, but once you're into it, it's really good. All right, next up is Wild by Sheryl Strayer. I don't know, again, am I butchering that? Probably. But she is the author of my favorite book, which I mentioned in the first video, and she actually came out with this book before she came out with Tiny Beautiful Things. I'm almost positive, but don't quote me on that. But this is her story of kind of after her mom passed away, she decided to hike the, I want to say it's the wait, the Pacific Coast Highway. Am I okay? Like, what the oh my god, I was almost, okay, I wasn't that far off. It's the Pacific Crest Trail, and she kind of takes you through her experiences, what she learns, and just kind of like finding yourself again. And like I said in my last video, she's an incredible writer, so I highly recommend that book. And then last up, we've got My Year with Eleanor. I actually read this book probably 3.5 years ago, and it still stuck with me, which is crazy because usually sometimes when you read books that long ago, they just like, whoop. This one was really interesting because she took the quote by Eleanor Roosevelt, and the quote is, "Do something every day that scares you." And I think she was like, she had just turned 25 or something like that, and she just had like just gotten laid off from her job, and then saw the quote somewhere, and it kind of like triggered this whole, but yeah, I feel like that book kind of helps with getting out of your comfort zone and pushing yourself to do things that you're not comfortable with, or, you know, that scares you. This book is just really interesting to read, and it kind of makes you think about your own life and how you can, you know, take the lessons that she learns and kind of infiltrate them in your own life. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. So I hope you guys found some more book recommendations. I tried to keep this list as compact as possible because I know I tend to ramble on about books. But if you would like to see maybe a part 3, I have read a freaking ton of books, so I always have more to offer. I have like 3 on my reading list that I really want to read. So yeah, if you have any requests, just leave me a comment, I'll respond. Yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and let me know if you have either read any of these books or plan on reading any of these books. I would love to know. So have a great day. Thank you for watching, and yeah, don't forget to subscribe if you're new, hit that like button, and yeah, have a great day.